Okay, gang, we're tonight looking at color, but before we get started on the mixing color, let's take a look at the idea of underpainting, which might be with a single color, a monochromatic, or it might be with a two-tone version, a bichromatic or dichromatic, where we mix a gray that may be cooler and warmer and use both of them. That can be done with three colors, or it can be done more simply with maybe one cool color mixed with a warm color. And the things you get in between, you can use the cooler and warmer parts to create an underpainting that's basically tonal, but has a warm and cool thing going on. A little thing that Leonardo invented. And we can see how this is done as an underpainting in this one, where richer color is going to be coming along afterwards. And we want to establish lights and darks, as you would with a one-tone underpainting. And then after that, you might want to also have like this warm and cool underpainting. So as we move forward, what we're going to want to do is add more color, more layers of color, sort of the local color, if you will. And that's what we're going to start with this evening, adding some cools, warms, yes, bright blue, bright yellow, whatever your finished colors are. One of the reasons to do this is to establish light and dark early. That's why we do the underpainting, get the painting basically started, get the picture started, and have lights and darks that you can use for your finished product, but you're not using a full range of color yet. There's a couple of reasons to do that. One is to save some money on the more expensive colors, and also just to get a good handle on what's going on with the lights and the darks in your painting. Different folks will have different rationales and reasons to do that, but they're all perfectly valid. It's not a bad idea to get a picture started this way. Other folks are going to jump straight in with bright, rich color and go from there and dull or mute their color as they need. Anyway, so let's take a look at this process of starting to add color on top of an underpainting. So if I want a nice rich, if I want that ball to be blue, now I can come in and I can simply put, my brush is full of that other stuff that's making it very dull, and I don't want dull. I want the ball to be kind of a nice bright blue. So I'm going to come in and put a nice bright blue on top of the bowl. It's very wet. I should get it less wet. I should get more color and less water. And now I can extract. So now I have a very blue round ball, dark and light. Now it's pale blue right this minute because it was watery. I can wait a few minutes and then put another little color on and get that a little brighter. But right this minute, notice the dark isn't mostly the blue, it's the brown underneath the blue. And if I want my block to be a nice bright yellow green, in the sunny section it's very nice and bright, and then over here on the dark side I can get so even if you learned how to do monochromatic, that was a technique that people used for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. If you were going to the Royal Academy in England, if you were going to the École des Beaux-Arts in France, if you were going to work for a guy named Leonardo, that's what you needed to know how to do. Now Leonardo changed the rules though. He wasn't the first, but some of them wanted to paint with brighter colors. And the reason they would do that is they wanted brighter colors they needed a patron who could pay for a lot of really good paint. If they didn't have a great patron that way, then they would look for cheaper ways to get through the process. And now I've got a green box, and yes, I didn't let the green box get dry enough, so now I'm having a hard time it staying where it's supposed to be, but that's okay. I can lighten it a little bit. But you can see I have a darker green on one side, I've got lighter greens on the other section. The thing is, what I would say is this: those browns, those neutral grays, black, they didn't mix colors to make black. They just went over to somebody's kitchen stove, scraped out all the carbon, the soot, and the creosote, ground it up, and made paint out of that. Or they would go outside, oh, I don't want black, I want brown. If you were in a place called Umbria, you went out and got dirt. And we called it umber, because it's Umbrian dirt. But if you were in Siena or Florence, you went outside to the countryside and you got Sienese or Siena dirt. And you get different colors. Like here, if you went outside here, there's places here where you can get sort of a greenish olive kind of color, like the Umbria color, or you can get some orangey dirt around.
From here.
Yeah.
From 2 locations, and I roasted one.
You know, so you get dirt with oxide, iron and other kind of oxides out there, and you clean it up, and because guess what? When you make color out of dirt, the color is dirt cheap. Bad pun, I know, but that's exactly what it was. It was dirt cheap. It was the cheapest thing you could get. Where there's the expensive stuff would be expensive forever. But I can come in here if I need to, and I can make that a brighter blue. Okay, so you get the idea that we can do that. Now, I did something else over here. I did what I told you that Leonardo did. He said, my brown can be my neutral color, my gray, my brown, my whatever I'm going to do. I might make it warm and cool all by itself. And that's what you see here. There's kind of a cool gray versus the warm gray, and they mix, and then they've got multiple colors. And so here, what I've got here is now I put purple on this one, but this is an earthy bluish color. It's got a little bit of blue in it, so it's the idea that you make a cool color and a warm color, which helps. Not only do you get the light and darkness, but you get a little warm, cool thing going on that helps you kind of get a little more what you want out of the piece. So I'm going to get a bit of yellow on the ball in the back this time. And not only is it darker on the back, but it's also a cooler color. And then I can come back over here.
But isn't cool versus warm relative?
Yes, they're relative to each other.
Right, in other words, but as a color can be cool versus another one and warm versus another.
Absolutely. It's a relationship. Right. It's always a relationship. I can make almost any color be warmer or cooler by what I put next to it. There's a few colors that are very difficult to make cooler or very difficult to make warmer because they are so far off
like what?
A bright, slightly yellowy orange or orangey red is hard to make anything cool, warmer than that because it's so bright. And on that warm side versus the most icy blue, those are kind of on the opposite ends there. But it's a way of getting closer to getting a little more variety in your color, not just monochromatic. The bichromatic is often done this way. I'm going to take a color that's hard to get much warmer than this. It's a reddish orange.
This is almond clay.
Yeah. It's almost it's, let's see if I can't get a little better. Bring that a little down. So here is a nice orangey warm color so that you guys can see it a little better. Now I can take that color right there and then I can come back in with a much cooler color. Maybe I actually pick up a slightly different version. I'm going to pick up over here, get a little bit of this. This will be helpful. I'm creating something that's, I'm using a blue-green and a violet together, which is very much an indigo kind of color. So, but I can put the two together, and look what I've got. Basically a neutral color. It's not warm particularly, it's not cool. I can make it warmer or cooler by just putting a little bit more of one or the other in it. Does that make sense?
It's fascinating.
Warm and cool together, making a neutral. I could paint this whole thing with neutral, and then I could paint the parts that I want cooler with a cooler version of it, and paint the parts that I want warmer with a little bit more of that. Does that make sense? And what that does is it gives us a warm, cool, light and dark painting, and you get the effect of actually 3 colors with just 2. Now you could do
all in harmony with each other.
because this relates to this, because this contains both. So we've looked at painting on top of a monochromatic, gray or a color, and we've also seen that there, in both Western and Eastern art forms, there's the use of 2 colors, a warm and a cool color, to create neutrals. And the application in the underpainting might be really subtle, or it might be very bold, but they're still basically just creating 2 colors as an underpainting to add other colors on top of. We see that in Western art, we see that in Chinese art, such as this particular piece right here, and in more modern pieces, we see it as the jumping off point for adding really rich color, but having an underpainting that's kind of unifying the whole piece. Well, that wraps up this little short video about underpainting and color. The next video will be about actual color mixing. Talk to you guys soon.